do to make shingles. You will take your sandpaper that I provided, and sandpaper has this size, 9 by 11 inches. So in order to extract the most of your sandpaper sheet and make as many shingles, these shingles, as possible, we will use a hybrid system of a hybrid system of inches and centimeters, millimeters, the metric and imperial system together. So 9, so this is 9. Can you see it? Yes, now you see it. So we're going to divide it in 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4, 1.5, then 2 1/4, 3, 3 3/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/4, 6, 6 3/4, 7 1/2, 8 1/4, and 9. So how many divisions do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. So in order to do a straight line, you need another set of marks. So you'll do it on the other side of the sheet. Three quarters, 1.5, 2 1/4, 3, 3 3/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/4, 6, 6 3/4, 7 1/2, 8 1/4. And then what do? You make lines. You trace lines. Now, so before you complete the tracing the lines, you might divide your long edge. This is the short edge, 9 inches. This is the long edge, 11 inches. Can you see it? Yes, you can see it. Like this. You're gonna divide it. How long? That's right, 2 3/4. This is the finished product already. 2 3/4, 2 3/4, then you add another 2 3/4. How much you get? You get 5 1/2 plus 2 3/4, you get 8 1/4, and then you're done. So you have 1 2 3 4 4 times 12. How many shingles you're gonna have? 4 times 12 is 48. That's right. Okay, now when you're at the last line, you want to divide it the same way as you did it before, on the bottom. So 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. So 1 2 3 4, and then you trace the vertical lines. That's right. And we're not done yet. I'll show you what we're going to do next. Beautiful. Now we have whole of sandpaper measured. Now we want to have, can you see it? Wait, you need to have those tabs, right? So you divide your length in 3 equal tabs. So how can you divide 2 3/4 by 3? That's going to be too complicated in inches. So what are you going to do? Simple. You flip your ruler to millimeters. And each tab, it's going to be 23 millimeters. So one tab is 23, and then the next tab, the split between the second and the third tab, is going to be at 46, right? 23 plus 23 is 46. So you do the same on top. (23) plus 46. There you go. Now, so you don't wanna trace it. You don't wanna trace it a full line. You wanna do it because your tabs are only half of the width. of your shingle, right? So you want to stop here. You don't want to trace till the end. So by eye, just don't worry, don't measure the half of the width. You don't need to do it. You don't need to be super precise here. So you trace it like this. Just stop more or less at the middle. There you go. There you go. So you do the same here. You measure it 23.46. Here also 23.46. And here also 23.46. You do it the same here. Can you see it? There you go. So here, this is 23, this is 46. You don't measure this because you already have this line, so you don't care what's the distance between here and here, which is also 23. But you don't need to measure it. Same here. Sorry, not 26, 23. 46. 46. Now you do the same. You trace only the half width of the shingle. There you go. Can you see it? Okay, now let's put it like this. Can you see now? No, okay. That's it. So in order for you to kind of remember, and so I want it to be recorded on the video. So the height in here is 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 plus 3/4 is 1.5 inches. 1.5 plus 3/4. How much is it? 2.25. Here is 3. 3 3/4. Then what is it? 4.5. Then what? 5.25. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. Then it's 6. 6 3/4. Then what is it? 7.5. Right. And then what? 8.25. Here's 9. So this is 9. This is, so always measure the top line. Then what? Then you take your trusted scissors. One more thing. The first line of the shingles, you want to cut it. You want to split it. I'll show you how, and I'll tell you later why. So what's the half of 3/4? What's the half of 3/4? How many eighths I have in 3/4? 6. 6/8. So you have 3/8 of an inch. Now the first shingle, the first line of shingle, it's going to be special. You cut it in half along its long edge. Then you take it like this. I can hardly see what I'm recording. Oh. And you cut it in 4 pieces. Along the 2 3/4 mark. and I will explain why am I doing this. I'm doing this, so this is my mini roof as an example. Because the first shingle that you're gonna lay like this, you will see the wood through it. You see? So in order to hide this, you have to put one below, like this, and the first shingle is gonna be on top. There you go. And you won't see it. You won't see the bare wood again anymore. There you go. Actually, it's gonna be slightly higher, something like this. So that's how the professionals do it. There are a bit more tricks to it, but I'll show it later when I'm gonna start gluing the shingles. So now, in order to get this beautiful shingle like this, with those tabs, those nice tabs with a nice wide, nice kind of gap that you can see. So it's not just you don't just cut it. You have to create a certain gap. Now we're gonna proceed in cutting shingles from the lines we just traced. I'm gonna just do a couple of them because I don't want to spend the whole video cutting it, but just to give you an idea, you cut all of them along the long edge, and once you have 3 or 4 of them, you just stack them together like this. So in order to cut it quickly, you want to be as efficient as possible. Do it like this. There you go. So now you wanna create a nice type like this, huh? Do you? Yes, of course you do. What do? Well, you're gonna cut on both sides of this black line that you created on each shingle. Remember, we created all those half lines. That are measuring the 3 tabs evenly. So how you're gonna do it? You're gonna cut it on the right side and on the left side, and usually the gap's gonna pop out by itself. You don't even have to cut it out. That's it. It's gone. You see? So in order to cut it, now I'm gonna show you the procedure of gluing. So now you don't want to cut it, you don't want to glue it so it will be right on top. Then you're gonna have a gap right here, so you need to offset it, right? You can offset it like this in the middle of the third tab, or offset it in the middle of the second tab. So you do it by eye, you don't need to measure it strictly. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that you're gonna lay the first half shingle in its entirety like this, because the real shingle, the full shingle you're gonna lay, are gonna be cut in half like this. So don't worry about offsetting the underlaying shingle. So you may have noticed that the half shingle corresponds exactly to the thickness of the craft stick, and the full thickness and the full shingle corresponds to both of them. So since you're building a roof out of 2 shingles, that's going to be extremely you're building a roof out of craft sticks, that's going to be extremely convenient for you. You don't need to trace the lines as the real builders do, roofers do. So you leave a small gap between the first underlying shingle and the second one. So you don't start gluing the first shingle as I mentioned. You start it in the middle. So in order to do that, you have to cut the first shingle in half. Like this. So now when you have 2 halves of the shingle, don't take this one, don't take the right half, take the left one. If you're starting from the right, take the left one. So glue it slightly below the underlaying, kind of overlap it. I don't know if you can see it like this. You see? So you don't see the bare wood underneath. Then take the full shingle like this. And then glue it. Like this. So the next row, since I don't have enough room here to continue, I'm gonna start immediately the next shingle right here, like this. And glue it. Like this. So slightly move it, glue it at around half the width of the previous shingle. So in order to continue the next here, you're going to be using another shingle, another full shingle, assuming that your roof is much longer, like this. There you go, like this. Always leave a little gap between those, the first shingle and the second. Now, the second shingle, what do you do? Now, do you take this shingle? No, you don't take the shingle. You see the gap? It's going to be over the gap below. You have to do it like this. So what do? You need to take a shingle. You're going to need those ones, the right side halves. You're going to need it for this side, for this edge, for the left edge. But for now, you have to cut it in half. There you go. Actually, the real builders, what they do, oops, the real builders, they don't cut the shingle in half. They cut in half the last tab, the third tab, like this, like this. So this way they lose only a small part of the shingle, not the whole half of it. So you might as well start by cutting not half of the whole shingle, but only half of the third tab. So here I cannot continue because here I need the next shingle to be under it.